So this is your final word study test. It will be an overview of everything we've talked about in this unit, starting with Latin and Greek roots, how to figure out their meaning. We're going to be looking at prefixes and suffixes, parts of speech, and just kind of an overview of everything that we've studied. If you did a good job on your word study review activities, those can be used as a study guide to take this test. But again, please do the test by yourself. If your parents or your siblings help you with it, then I don't know what you know and what you don't know. So the next couple of pages, you're going to actually see the test. I'll read it through one time, and then we'll also talk about the scoring rubric. Once you've watched this video, then please take your time. Take your test. This is a summative assessment, which means this is the end of this unit. Everything else has been formative or practice. This counts 70% of your grade. So please do the very best you can on your review assignments, and then do your very best on this test. For the first section of the final word study test, you're given a sentence that has words with the same Latin or Greek root. You'll notice that they're in boldface. And then because it's multiple choice, what you're going to be looking for is what does the bold-faced root mean? So I'm going to read through each one, but we're not going to do a practice one together. I just want you to hear the sentences. So if some of the words are challenging, then you can use this as an audio to help you take your test. Number 1. The astronauts prevented a disaster, should say while blasting an oncoming asteroid with an astronomical laser. So we want to know what does astra mean? A, distant, B, star, C, see or look, D, shape. Number 2. A belligerent rebel joined the rebellion and helped conquer the evil bellicose Queen Bellatrix of Belgium. So we're looking for the Latin root belly. And does it mean A, sound, B, death, C, fight or war, D, right? Number 3. Being immortal will keep you from having a mortifying meeting with a mortician at the mortuary. So we're looking for the meaning of the root mort. Does it mean A, star, B, distant, C, shape, D, death? Number 4. You need traction to extract a tractor from a deep, muddy ditch. So in this case, the root is tract. Does tract mean A, pull, B, right, C, see, and D, right? This is the last of the context clues using the same root. So number 5, her old gray uniform did not conform with the team's transformation from plain and simple to stylish and glamorous. So you're noticing form is boldface, so that's our root. Does form mean A, star, B, shape, C, pull, D, speak? Number 6. With a gold and silver graphite pencil, my favorite author autographed the biography he wrote about graphic novelist Doug TenNapel. So our root is graph, and does graph mean A, self, B, hand, C, right, D, see? Number 7. Use the manual lever to manipulate and maneuver the boxes in the manufacturing warehouse, ordered the manager. So we're looking for the meaning of the root man. Is it A, hand, B, self, C, distant, D, person? Number 8, and the last in this section. The prospector had to inspect his claim for gold, but his spectacles were dirty, so his inspection was incomplete. So we have the root spect. And does spect mean A, star, B, sound, C, distant, or D, see? Oh, there are 2 more. So number 9, you must dictate the benediction to me, the dictator demanded of the priest, and use a dictionary to correct your awful spelling. So in boldface, we have the root dict, D-I-C-T, and does it mean A, speak, B, star, C, D, hand. And number 10, the porter carried a portable portfolio across the airport so it could be transported to Portland. So we have our root port. Does port mean A, study, B, self, C, carry, or D, write? So that is the end of our multiple choice, where we're looking at context clues to help us find the meanings of our Latin and Greek roots. In this next section, you're going to identify the part of speech of each column of words. So you'll see there are 4 columns with empty spaces above. You're going to use the hints for each part of speech to help you choose. So the 4 parts of speech that we are really going to focus on for this activity are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Noun says person, place, thing, or idea. A verb, something you can do it. Adjective, you can be it. And an adverb tells how or when it was done. So in the first list, we have gracious, spacious, enormous, tremendous, and glorious. You need to decide, is that a noun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb? And whatever you decide, I want you to write it in the blank right above. The second column, we have quickly, neatly, completely, honestly, and nicely. Noun, verb, adjective, and adverb, and you're going to write your answer right here. Third column, capsize, magnetize, energize, sympathize, and idolize. And again, noun, verb, adjective, adverb. You're going to write your answer here. And lastly, education, situation, revolution, introduction, and dedication. And actually the second word was initiation. So you're not going to use any of the words twice, so you're going to use each one of those parts of speech one time in this section. This next section, I'm going to ask you to analyze the words for 2 different aspects. First, I'm going to ask you to look at it, and particularly look at its suffix and determine its part of speech. And then I want you to think about what is the meaning of the root that is in bold print. So each answer you're going to have 2 X's or 2 check marks. So I'm going to do the first one with you. It's done on your test, so I'm going to talk it through. It says identify the meaning of the word part in bold print and the part of speech of the complete word. So I have the word automatic. So automatic ends in the suffix IC. Something that is automatic, well, a garage door opener is automatic. The transmission in my car is automatic. So that's an adjective. I know that words that end in IC are almost always adjectives. And then I'm looking at the bold print root, auto, and if something is automatic, you have 4 choices. Does it mean to see, sound, self, or carry? And if something is automatic, I know that it means it does it by itself. So for automatic is an adjective, and the root meaning is self. So the remaining words, portable, saxophone, inspect, deportation, cacophonous, autobiographic, speculate, automatically, portfolio, symphony, and respectable. You don't have to know the meaning of the entire word. What I'm asking you to look at is look at the bold root that is part of your word, and then look at your suffix and see if that will allow you to determine the part of speech. So this part's tricky. Take your time. I have reused the roots over and over again, so hopefully you will see a pattern. In this next section, I've given you words that share the same suffix. And what you have to do is figure out 2 things. First of all, what does that suffix actually mean? And once you figure that out, what part of speech? So we have a list of words that end in ISH. Boyish, foolish, childish, fiendish, Spanish, babyish, and devilish. So there are 5 options. Does ish mean one who, making it a noun? B, does ish mean like, having the characteristics of, making an adjective? C, does it mean to cause or to make, making it a verb? D, the state, condition, or process of, which makes it a noun? Or E, the manner, extent, time, or location of, which makes it an adverb? So once you figure out what the suffix means, you will automatically figure out the correct part of speech. So the second list, we have sympathize, materialize, generalize, energize, magnetize. Your choices are, again, A, one who, which is a noun; B, like, having the characteristics of, adjective; C, to cause or make, verb; D, the state, condition, or process of, noun; E, the manner, extent, time, or location of, for an adverb. Here are a few more: quickly, suddenly, neatly, importantly, sleepily, easily. So again, I've used the same 5 choices. A, one who, which is a noun; B, like, having the characteristics of, which makes it an adjective; C, to cause or make, which is a verb; D, the state, condition, or process of, which makes it a noun; or E, the manner, extent, time, or location of, which makes it an adverb. And then we have teacher, lawyer, dancer, swimmer, painter, builder, owner. A, one who, which makes them nouns; B, like, having the characteristics of, makes it an adjective; C, to cause or make, which is a verb; D, the state, condition, or process of, which is a noun; or lastly, E, the manner, extent, time, or location of, which makes these adverbs. So look at them, go back and look at the clues that tell you what nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs are earlier on in the test, and see what you can do to figure out what their suffixes mean and what their part of speech is. So there's one last list, and then we'll talk about your extension. So our last list is education, completion, instruction, computation, and invitation. So again, it's the same 5 definitions. A, one who, which is a noun; B, like, having the characteristics of, which is an adjective; C, to cause or to make, a verb; D, the state, condition, or process of, noun; or E, the manner, extent, time, or location of, which are adverbs. So decide for yourselves what the part of speech is, and that will tell you what that suffix means. Now, in order to get a 4, because this is complicated stuff and you've worked really hard on this, you will need to do an extension. You're going to need to know, not only try to do your best to figure out what the word means, but also by using its suffix, what is the part of speech. So I have 3 words that all share the same root, and that is mal. So the first one, we have malodorous. You need to tell me what you think malodorous means based on the different parts that you know. And if you look at the suffix ous, what is its part of speech? Next word we have is malevolent. So think based on the parts again, what do you think malevolent means? What is its definition? And looking at its suffix, ent, what is its part of speech? And lastly, malediction. So if you know what mal is, and if you know what dict means from an earlier part in our test, see if you can figure out what a malediction is, and then looking at the suffix tion, what is its part of speech. So you need to be able to do both in order to get a 4 on this test. So here's the scoring rubric that I'm going to use when you complete your test. You'll notice that it takes care of 3 vocabulary acquisition standards. And we'll still be doing some vocabulary, but our word study unit, really, that was its focus. So we'll start with a 4. In order to earn a 4 on this test, you need to correctly answer at least 93% of the questions correctly. So you can get a 93 or better. And you must complete the extension correctly. So you could get all of the questions correct, but if you don't complete the extension correctly, you'll only get a 3. So what do I look for to meet the standard? I would expect you to correctly answer at least 80% of your questions correctly. So anywhere from an 80 to 100, you would meet the standard if you do not do the extension. But the only way to get a 4 is you must do the extension correctly. A 2, which partially meets the standard, correctly answers at least 70% of your questions correctly. So it would be anywhere between a 70 and an 80 would be a 2. Anything less than a 70 would not be a 2. And it does not meet the standard, a 1, correctly answers fewer than 70% of the questions correctly. So when you think about it, let's say you got a 75, but you did answer the extension correctly, you would probably get a 2.5, depending on the number of questions that you got right or how you did on the extension. So you can do, partially meet the standard on the basic test, but you certainly can help yourself by trying to complete the extension correctly. So this is your summative assessment, which means it counts 70% of your grade. You are allowed to use your notes from Google Classroom. So what I ask is that you do a good job. Please do not take help from anyone at home, parents, siblings, grandparents, friends, nephews. I really need to see what you know and what you still need help with. So best of luck, and I hope to see it soon.